6:30, I believe. Right?
Come on, 6:30.
Anyway, so hopefully we'll see you all out here tomorrow night. Not further review. Oh my God. Okay, welcome, Wendy.
Thank you all for sticking around. I can't follow a Time Lord. Well, maybe I'm not following him. Maybe I'm going before him.
Wendy, you're decent. Okay.
It's some alternate dimension I actually
Shoot, you gotta get
I'm not doing any slides. I am going to talk about something completely different. And that was completely different. Don't you hate it when somebody doesn't know what they're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, I know I do. I really hate that. Here is an indicator. All right. Here is an indicator. Yes, I'm short. Here's an indicator. Thank you. Yeah, Lord. All right. Here's an indicator when you don't know what you're talking about. And this thing really bugs me. If you refer to any institution, any company, any entity in the singular, as if it were an animate object, like Google wants to track you, the government is out to get you, Microsoft hates me. Anytime, the feeling is all of the above. Anytime that you are referring to that sort of group in the singular, it's clear that you do not know what is going on behind the scenes. For one thing, nothing is a monolithic organization. You have a group of people, they are all going to be doing their own things that you cannot possibly control. And most managers understand that. So if you hear something from a particular group, but it's really just from one person, you can be sure that afterwards, some boss is going, I can't believe they did that. Well, you said what during the press conference? So any particular given action that appears to be coming from an organization, you really need to understand that it is not necessarily representative of that organization. Here's another clue that you may not know what you are talking about, especially in security. When you say, why don't they just, or I can't believe that they did or didn't do something. If you can't believe it, or you don't understand why they can't do it, then you don't know the entirety of what's going on. I blogged about this recently, in which I said, if you only play one position, then you don't understand the whole game. And this is a problem that we have in security. We are all looking at a lot of the same problems, but from very, very different perspectives. And one of the things that I want to encourage everybody to do, besides drink, one of the things that I want to encourage everybody to do today, tonight, is to sit down with somebody who does not do the same thing that you do for a living. So, for example, how many people break into things for a living? Raise your hand. Pretty much. Yeah, you deny everything. How many people get broken into for a living? How many people do neither one? Like you study people who break into things for a living, and you study people who get broken into for a living.
I'm not allowed to admit that.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't admit that. Exactly. And that's the other problem. Is that the other problem, obviously, with security is nobody can stand up here and really talk about what's going on behind the scenes at in their organization. Nobody's going to come back and say, I can tell you exactly why we haven't patched for 2 years. And yes, there is always a really good explanation. If you sit down with that person and talk with them, there is always a good reason that made perfect sense at the time. If you can find out what that is, you will understand a lot more, not just about what that person is going through, but also you may be able to help them with that particular thing. So if you looked around at raised hands and you identified somebody who doesn't do the same thing that you do, I would encourage you to sit down and talk with them, and ask them about a problem that they are having. Without agenda, without trying to further what you're doing, just ask them about a problem that they are dealing with. Learn as much about it as you need to, and see what you can do to help them. I know this sounds very, very Boy Scout, very Girl Scout. But a lot of us, and I've been seeing this, for weeks, for months, for years, today, this evening, a lot of us are very much in our own heads. And we look at everything through the lens of, is this going to help me? Is this going to protect me? Is this going to further what I believe to be right? Try to throw that away and just, without any sort of agenda for yourself, find out what somebody else is doing. Sit down and talk with them. So, back to the title of this talk. Does anybody know the classic story of swinging from the 70s, where married couples would go to somebody's house and... Yeah, you know it. And the
70s?
I would like to say there's a huge difference between a key signing party and a key party. Make sure you know which one you're going to. All right? Protocols are entirely different.
There is a big difference, you're right, and there doesn't have to be.
Oh!
So think about this. Everybody puts keys down, the men put their household keys down, and the women come and just pick out of the pile, and whoever belongs to those keys, they go home with them. We could do something similar here. Maybe USB keys. Everybody put USB keys. You go home with them. Yeah, no, that was at DEFCON. I talked about being penetrated. That was something else. Now, please note, I'm not saying that you should take this literally. If you pick up somebody's key, okay. If you really want to have sex with somebody, if they're the appropriate sex, if they like you too, then go ahead, knock yourself out. Go right ahead. Yeah, it's safe surfing out there. Go ahead and do that, but I'm not talking about, I'm just talking about an initial casual conversation. I'm not talking about setting up a mentor-mentee relationship. I'm not talking about commitment. I'm not talking about moving in. And
He's talking about sex.
But there's a warm wind blowing the stars around.
I know.
Yes. That's to stop me.
Very guilty about this show.
Thank you.
That's it?
No, you don't.
All right.
I don't know about two-fisting.
No.
So, although England and John Ford quoted quote at Shmoocon, achievement unlocked.
Especially if you're this.
But seriously, some of us have done many different things in our careers. Some of us have been on the receiving end. Some of us have been on the giving end.
That's really dirty.
It's that time of night. Well, there's nothing I can say anymore that's not going to be taken the wrong way. Some of you like to watch. I'm sure there will be videos of this. We're on camera right now. We're on camera right now. Now's the time.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's storming the stage at this point. I don't understand. I want my awkward right now. My awkward hug right now. But seriously, please sit down with somebody else who does not do the same thing that you do and learn about what what challenges they are having to overcome. It's kind of like pulling a thread on a sweater, and when you start asking why something is going on and you pull on it and you discover there's something else going on. You know, for the want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For the want of a shoe, a horse was lost. For the want of a horse, a battle was lost, and so on. There's always something in security with a lot of really good reasons behind it, whether it's why something is not getting patched, whether somebody is refusing to disclose a breach, why legislation is so bad. Right? And legislation is really hard to write. It's like writing secure code. You have to think about all the use cases and all the abuse cases, and you have to write it in a way that it's going to last for decades and not be misused. So, sit down with somebody and try to understand what they are doing, help them solve a problem. Maybe it's just you know of a tool that they could use. You know of somebody who could help them. You know of somebody who's looking to hire somebody like them. There are a lot of possibilities here, and I think if we do this sort of swinging exercise, not only are we going to feel really nice and warm and fuzzy afterwards.
Stop saying swinging.
Take a shot.
Not that I'm swinging. It will also help enrich your own understanding of security and your own ability to make a real contribution to the community. So, at the risk of sounding too serious right now, I will just say, drink. Drink. That's a good way to end it. Drink. Thank you all.
At the end.
Yeah.
Grex, you got any final words?
Alright, so Mr. Tactile is I wouldn't call it a sock puppet. Okay, pictures, come on. Tomorrow night, 6:30, see you there. That didn't feel comfortable. Yeah.
Tear this thing down.